Hold up, Diddy. Hit him with part 2, son.
To the Rabbit Hole Collective.
Oh, I like that. Nice. Damn, I wish I was creative.
You are creative. What are you talking about?
Well, not like that. I would never come up with something so cool.
Rabbit Hole Collective is?
Yeah, I just don't think I can't come up with names. I'm probably like the kid that named their doll. Like, what's your doll name? Doll. That would be me.
Oh, that's trifling.
That's hilarious.
Wow. What do you want to name your doll?
Dog.
That is so.
That's totally my level of creativity.
Dog. What movie was that? But your place is very beautiful.
Thank you.
We're offset. We are on location. The Rabbit Hole. Rabbit Hole what?
Is this the Rabbit Hole
Collective.
Yeah.
But if this is the Rabbit Hole, then we always have to return to the Rabbit Hole.
Well, I don't know about it.
What is the Rabbit Hole? Tell everybody what the Rabbit Hole is.
The Rabbit Hole is a space where you kind of lose a connection with space and time, where you go and you explore the depth of a question. So it's unpacking. It's something I do every night, almost. I go into the rabbit hole and I try to unpack all of my feelings and emotions because as a counselor, I'm hearing people's issues all the time. And so I have to go and unpack it. And when I unpack it, I find things and then it's exciting.
So you're a counselor, but who are you? They don't know who you are.
Oh yeah, people should know me.
You better tell them. That's a question to explore. Why should they not know?
Because we're all one, right? We should know each other. I am Nicole, and I am a counselor, and I guess that's it. Should I say I'm married with kids or whatever?
Unless you don't even ready to know.
I really don't.
I mean, but they know it now.
Oh.
You just said it. So.
Anyway, married with kids. It's not anything I want to hide. It's just a part of my story.
Well, we're all one, so we already know you're married with
See,
kids.
you didn't have to say anything.
Yeah, technically, we're married to your spouse.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, I think it's getting a little weird.
But that's the rabbit hole.
Rabbit
That's
hole.
the rabbit hole. Y'all already know Lindsey, and y'all already know me. This is Nicole, as she just told you, and so we're going to explore many different topics with her. And so she's going to bring a whole new kind of facet to just the things we're offering on the channel, the station. And so this one is for all you deep thinking, philosophical folk who have hit us up from our 1320 stuff, and that's just like, y'all should have kept talking about that. Well, this is the one where we just keep talking about stuff. So,
Love it.
yeah, so we're just going to talk until we just... Is there into rabbit holes?
Now that's the
Fatigue.
tricky part. Fatigue. I love this. Is so totally.
That's kind of scary. That's kind of scary.
You just get tired.
Yeah.
Get,
Or you're just like frustrated, probably.
Yes.
You get to a place where it's like, now I don't even know how this conversation even began.
I'm there.
started.
I'm already fatigued. we just started because I'm already fatigued. So what do we open it with? What is the first hole we dig into? Do I have to create the hole? You dig into the hole. Okay, go ahead.
I think the first thing we could talk about is something I've talked about with my children, is the idea of choice, right? The PS5 was being released 2020. Everybody was super excited. It was just a glimmer of hope to the pandemic, right?
They're still excited.
Well, so we don't have one yet.
I
But-
haven't heard about it anymore, but go ahead.
Yeah, everybody wanted one. You know, they were trying to take
It hasn't
it.
died down at all.
And I asked my kids, why do you want a PS5? Well, because it's going to do this and the other. And I was like, okay, so, but if the PS5 didn't exist, would you want this? Like, this, could you conceptualize it? Like,
Yes.
Would you?
Yes, because you always want better.
Okay. But do you really have a real choice in something? Or are you being programmed to want a PS5 because it's available? Like, but prior to its existence of a PS anything, right? Did you desire something like that? Like, did everything we have is because we've made this decision to go and get it. But what impacted our decision? Did we just wake up and say, this is what we're going to get? Or are we deeply influenced by it? Is choice an illusion?
We're prepackaged to want something called a PS5. But I don't think you're prepackaged to desire better.
No.
I always want to choose better. I just don't know what better looks like until maybe somebody tells me.
You're saying it's innate for us to want better.
Yeah.
It's not something that you're being influenced to desire.
I think it's innate to want more.
Yeah.
Because we're greedy. We're greedy. We're greedy. And now you have people that tell you what the more is that you want.
That's it.
So maybe we don't have that much choice.
Yeah, I think that we have a choice.
I got a choice.
Well,
I got a choice.
because some people don't care about the PS5. And I think that has a lot to do with me. I don't play games.
Oh, you play games.
I play.
Wow.
Psychological warfare.
Wow.
No, I don't play those types, and they've never really interested me.
Yeah.
So there are some people who don't care about it, but then like think about Mac products or Apple products.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's something new comes out, you didn't even know you needed it. Like those new headphones, like the on-ear ones, they came out and it's like it was nothing special.
It's interesting because people that really love music were irritated because Apple jumped into something else to make people want something that don't have a natural appreciation for that area. So Apple does force us to want stuff we don't necessarily want.
Yeah, I mean we bought into the brand, and so every time they come up with a new phone or a new feature or a new anything, we're automatically interested in getting. We don't even think. It's like, yeah, now I need this, or now I need an iPad, and I have to have an Apple Watch, and so I do think that we're very heavily influenced in kind of the things that we want. I don't know if that's choice or if it's just that our desires or the things that we're attracted to is something that we're programmed to desire. Do you feel like we are making the decision like, oh yeah, I like that? Or even style, even fashion. Everybody has the same kind of bags. Everybody has the same kind of shoes. Come on now. You always...
These are custom.
Oh, excuse me.
Don't copy.
Wow.
I copy no one.
Wow. But I mean, I'm saying like fashion and different things like that. I do feel like I wonder if we have a choice, if we even like it. Like those big ugly Balenciaga shoes.
Those shoes are hideous.
And guess what? If they were at Payless or they were at the beauty supply, nobody would have looked twice. They would clown those shoes. They would have. They look like the Shacks.
Dude, so you guys have never seen, I gotta have to find it. Some of y'all might have seen it. If you've seen it, post a link. So Payless created a fake bougie shoe store.
Oh, I remember
that.
Remember that? I remember that.
And they pretended like they were a new line of shoes, luxury, Italian,
they gave
something.
Gave
some new name, put in this little fancy pop-up store. Same shoes. And it was like charging thousands of dollars. And people were in there trying to get them.
What?
And then they told them at the end, like, yo, these are really just Payless.
Hilarious.
See, now that is like,
matter of fact, I'm gonna try
did we have the choice? I mean, I think that we are so easily influenced by the things around us that I do think our choice is not always ours. Because the things that we start to think is attractive or the things that we think we start to like, is it really me? Sometimes I look at stuff and I'm like, I really like that.
Absolutely.
Or is it just everybody has it? And so, yeah, I do question on whether.
Most stuff. When you think about it, it's almost like driving.
Are you a rebellious person? Because there are people that have a rebellious spirit and then they do buck against what everybody else is doing. It's
are you rebellious or are you just making your own choice? Ooh. So what it's like driving. You think about like driving. You have to ask the question. So we got here using, would you use Waze or something like that?
Google Maps.
Google Maps. Google Maps tells you these are the options of the routes. But then you ask the question, do I really have a choice I'm choosing the route, but I can really only go where there's a road and somebody else determined where the road was going to be.
True.
So do I actually have a choice? If life is similar to that, based on your question, what I start to wonder is who's deciding for me then? Somebody's deciding.
Absolutely.
So who?
I don't know. I mean, someone decided for you to be in existence.
I mean, where's God?
But that's what I'm saying. Like, at some point, two people made a choice, right, to sleep together, and two people had a kid. And then they made a choice to keep a kid, raise a kid, and those are a whole bunch of choices. And you didn't have any part in that. No one asked your opinion. No one said, oh, well, this is a good idea. And so at what point do you really think that you took over decision making?
Yeah.
Did we choose our friends? No, because geography kind of chooses your friends.
And how you were raised and what situations you were put in, those things. You chose friends from your environment, right? Where you were. You didn't choose friends from someplace else. You chose friends from whatever environment you were in. That was chosen for you.
Okay, this is kind of depressing. The question though, so what do we decide? What can we say? What can we come up with to say this is absolutely my choice?
I can't find anything.
Have you tried?
I have. That's where I get depressed because I'm like, I don't know if I choose anything. I think, you know what? Here's the thing. I think you choose to live. I think that's a choice.
Do you?
Because you know how to end your life, right? You know how to end it, and you can. And so you make the choice to live. So if that's the choice to, have
food. Do we even have that choice?
We don't have that choice.
I wonder innately.
Trigger warning.
Innately within us, there is a desire to live. And then I think that people that, take their lives, obviously they're going through some extreme upset. But I think naturally people that are, have the ability to regulate their emotions and their thoughts, I think it's almost painful to think of like ending your life. Like if somebody was coming after me, that's why they talk about like the fight or flight. Like our innate reaction to something that is potentially going to kill us or take our lives is to fight and buck against it, even if you don't want to, even if that isn't your natural thing to do.
But you also have a thing where I know I have this thing. I don't know if y'all have it. If I stand too close to the ledge of a high place, I feel like my body wants to jump. So that's it. Do I really? I am actively resisting. I had to Google to figure out what that what it's an actual thing.
I never feel like
I feel that way when I go on cruises. Like I'll be standing and I'll look at the water and it's so beautiful and everything in my body says I should go for a swim.
Oh wow!
And
I don't get that one.
It's so high up and it's just like I have this urge to be
cruises?
like, let's go, dude.
A lot of people still do that.
We are not going down this road right now.
Because that was no choice. That was no choice. That boat wasn't a choice. But anyway.
So being high up, I get the feeling. But I also think that part of it is this fear. Like, the babies, when they're born, they have, I think it's called the Morrow's reflex. When if you do this to a baby will do this suddenly. So I think that standing on the ledge, like part of me is curious. But then part of me says, and then part of it is weakness because it's total fear and debilitation. It's like, I know that I'm really not in control. So I don't know, it's a mixture of some of everything.
I never felt the desire to jump. Now, I have felt an immense fear of what if I were to fall. I think like ridiculous scenarios of like, if I'm close to a ledge, it's like, what if I just slipped right now?
Yes.
What if the wind just got real crazy real quick and then that was over for me? Right. It's more like the fear and not this curiosity of like, wow, I'd love to jump off.
No. It's not a curiosity. I don't want to at all. I can physically feel like my legs and stuff having this. Yeah, matter of fact, let me find it. Let me tell you.
Weird.
That is strange.
You don't know you never heard of it?
No, but I feel what you're feeling.
Because I feel a physical thing, but it pulls me away from it. It's like your feet tingle, and then like it's like, ooh, I gotta get away from this. I don't feel
control. Like you said, it's like you feel less stabilizing variables, right? Mm. So when you're in this very extreme pandemic, case in point, the pandemic feels so out of control because we realize how many variables we don't control, right? So we thought we were in control. Case in point, there's a show and it's a Lego cartoon movie, or no, it's a Lego cartoon, Legoland adventure show, and my kids were watching it, and they said this amazing line within like the first few episodes of the show. They said, control is chaos going your way for a little while. And that's all it is. It's this illusion. And so that's kind of where the idea of that rabbit hole went. So I was like, wait a minute. We are in a constant state of chaos.
And that's the chaos of the body. Here, this one says, have you ever been walking near the edge of a cliff when suddenly, for no apparent reason, you felt the urge to jump? If so, you've probably experienced high place phenomena, as it was dubbed in a research paper by a team of psychologists from Florida State University. Turns out, the phenomena is relatively common, but it's only recently been the focus of scientific study.
Well, that's interesting. Really quick, I feel like the question that we're asking is, do we really have a choice? But I think it really boils down to control. Mm-hmm. Like, do we have the ability to control what we do, what we like, where we go? Mm-hmm. And I think that's hard. Yeah. I think it's because I think there are so many variables that we have zero control over. Even what we see. How can I say I have a choice if I'm only able to see? I mean, saying that you have a choice in who you are friends with as a kid. Listen, I can only play with the people on my block. I don't have a choice. Nope. These choices were given to me, and I have a choice within the choices that were presented. So, like, I've been given these 10, and I can pick from these 10. That's it. And I think that is an issue that rich people deal with often because their choices are so much more plentiful. And they have access to way more so that it feels like they have more control. Or you end up going crazy. I don't know if we should have so many choices.
Too many choices aren't good.
Yeah.
We had me and my guys were having a discussion some years ago about that because one suggested that you should always have multiple options dating-wise. Yeah. You know that. That's what the fellas talk about. We know that. You should have more choices.
Yeah.
But, it's like, bro, how do you pick? How do you ever pick if you have, sorry, ladies, it's not direct comparison, but you have Lamborghini, a Ferrari, Ford.
You always want to compare women to some inanimate object.
I compare any people to, and I'm
going to take some water right now. Go ahead and do
but it's true. If you have too many choices, how do you pick? I think that's really why wealthy people end up killing themselves, be depressed, because somebody convinced them the more choices you have, the better life will be. And then they realize, I got 12 cars and only one foot.
Yes.
I agree with that. It's not, I think that I think that it reminds me of like God. And I think that God is the only one that has the ability to handle an infinite amount of choices. And I think that as people get to this place where they have that level of control, we don't know what to do with that. We're meant to be given, here's your space, and you can do what you can within there. It's just like us trying to understand time from a God-like perspective. We go crazy because our finite minds don't have the ability to deal with that many choices. And I agree. I think women do have the same problem too. I always say that beautiful women or women that have this universal beauty or this aesthetic that a lot too many people like. I think it's hard for you because if you don't want to do it, somebody else will. Yeah. I think that extremely beautiful people aren't always happy. I think it's harder for them to be happy because they have too many choices. If I can't get everything I want from you, I can go somewhere else. Now, if you ain't all the way at number 10, you get something and they don't have everything, you be like, well, you know what? Now this will work.
Yeah,
I can work with this. Like, I don't like that, but I get over it.
And it's dangerous relationally, though, because too many choices requires more for you to manipulate. It's more to have to handle. It's like saying, hey, can y'all move all this stuff to the table? Well, if I'm an octopus, I can take 8 at one time. I'm good. If you got 2 hands, that's a lot to try to figure out.
You go crazy.
You go crazy, but I don't think you go crazy because then you have to partition yourself off for each choice. Because you got to fit each option that you keep trying to manage. That's why God, it's the point you made was really good, is the only one who can handle infinite choices because he's infinite. We're not infinite. So you can't, it's only so much we can manage. So
I can only be here.
I can only
with
be
you
here
right now.
That's it.
And I can't handle being. And if I have a whole, like, I think it's probably for people that have multiple families. If a man or a woman has like other people, when I'm here with you, it's hard for me to fully be here.
No,
because
your mind gotta
I know I got other stuff and other people counted, and I think that's a lot for people to be able to handle. I think it's too much. So that's interesting to think that. I do think we have a level of choice, but I think it's the choices for what's presented in front of us.
But that's the thing, who presents it? Who's presenting it?
Someone else's choices.
We are a product of other choices.
You are really going down a rabbit hole.
Yeah, that's
so
welcome to my world.
There's an infinite amount of choices that are determined by infinite choices.
Yes.
That makes sense that we are a product of someone else's choices. And that is where we're getting our choices from. Or our options.
Because choices even in themselves are limited to the situation where the choices are presented, right? So if there's only, like he said, there's only a couple of routes to get here. And so we've been given this predetermined set of choices, and that person had whatever they made. People who were making this road, they looked and said, the land is the limiting factor, right? So I've got to make the road within this land. And then the land itself is limited by the earth. And those are limited choices. And then the earth itself is limited by the universe and what that can give you. And so each entity has a set of choices you can make within it. They're infinite within those. There's lots of different ways you can make it go, but each situation or each body that the choice sits in is limited by the body that sits in, which is limited by the body that sits in.
So our mothers could have had different fathers if the other dude didn't decide to go left instead of right.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Which would change the choices we would have made because where we were born would have changed and who we would be different. Our friends would be different. So you would make different choices. That's crazy. But then it's even crazy to think about the fact that dude that didn't show up while your daddy showed up made a different choice based upon something.
Could have been a car. I mean, like your mama could have met your daddy at the gas station, and it could have been somebody else, but they got into a car accident that sent them in a different. And that's crazy to think about. Sometimes you think about that. That's such a rabbit hole to go down to be like, man, is everything that happens in our lives predestined? Like are we here? Was this already supposed to be? Like this, is this the catalyst for some other thing in our lives? And sometimes when I think like that, it's like, that's too deep. It's
the
too far.
insane reality of that is that it puts a greater weight on every choice you make. Every it's just drastically different because it's not just a matter of I think I'm gonna stay in. What is your staying in doing to the world?
That's significant. I mean, like, that's so big to think about. What's my staying home changing about everybody around me?
But that's the ontological ethics. That says that there's no such thing as yes or no.
Because they only give us
right?
lesson. Right?
Okay, so instead of like looking at the world as being good and bad, you govern
Right, tell us what it's called again.
Deontological ethics. Yes.
Okay.
So if you think about it, it's the yes or no that you have, right? It's like, oh, this is good, this is bad. Instead of making choices based on being good or bad, you make the decision based on what the collective impact. Would it be okay if someone else made this choice? So nothing's good, nothing's bad. Would I be okay with the decision if someone else was making it? So, you know.
So would I still do this if you were doing this too?
Right. So it follows the pathway you're talking about. You know, what is the global impact of my decision? So I could say, you know, forget it. I'm going to leave my kids outside and they could do whatever. But would I be okay if everybody just left their kids everywhere? So no, I would not. So I make my decision as to whether or not my kids should be left anywhere based off of if I'd be okay if somebody else did it. So it's like do unto others as you will have somebody do unto you type thing. Yeah. So I think that kind of brings that back into play.
That's so interesting because I think about, I don't know how often, I don't think that you are very often, I don't know that you are on social media, but I have like conversations with friends about what's happening to the culture with like Instagram and the memes, and there's this quick microwave therapy that you can get on Instagram because everybody's a therapist and they just get like a couple of sentences and they're giving you like, if it doesn't serve you, if it doesn't feel right in your spirit, you need to let it go. Like you know, match people's energy, and it's just giving these little excerpts of like what you should do with no context.
Your psychology is being shaped by a picture frame.
Yes, and it literally that's exactly what it is. And so when I think about the idea of looking at your choices and thinking about the impact they will have if someone else were to do it, if everyone were to do it, or if you do it, what will happen to your life or your family? I don't think people think like that. No. That's the fear, is that people don't think about what their choices will look like in the future. It's how people can, you know, have a baby by a bunch of different people. A man can just keep having babies by different women because you're not thinking about the impact that is having on that kid, which is they're going to pass that down to whatever kid they have, and then they pass it down to whatever kid they have, and the women aren't thinking about it too, because even if this man is rich and can afford to pay for my kid is number 8. My kid doesn't have a good relationship with their dad, because even if he was the best dad he could possibly be, he can't be it to 8 people in eight different homes.
Too many options.
And so it's like nobody's thinking that far. They're thinking in this moment what serves and feels good to me,
right? And
not how it will impact the rest of my life. I think about moments in my life that I'm like, wow, if that would have happened, what was on its way to happening, I would be a totally different person.
Absolutely.
And I don't think people think like that. They don't even know how they ended up where they are.
I don't think
there's no introspection.
Well, this might be harsh. But
be harsh.
I wonder if social media is turning a chunk of our population into a collective hive.
Oh, yeah.
Of hive, just this hive mindset where everybody's operating the same, which is reducing choice, kind of, in a way.
For sure.
Because you're dating, because what is that Instagram that gives you all these suggestions?
Algorithm. Yeah, you're not even choosing what you're seeing.
Yeah, well, I forget whatever that documentary was I watched, but I was looking at it, it helped me. I'm like, that's how it's, yeah.
Oh,
like, that's how it's picking it, because I'm like, where are these like, I don't know these people.
Yep.
I've never interacted with these people. Why are they the ones showing up? And so
that's how predictable you are.
Yes.
That's the scary part.
Thanks for making me feel.
That's how predictable you are.